Good morning, good afternoon. This is Josiah. I am hosting this session on digital transformation strategy for legal firms. So I'll start by introducing myself very briefly. I'm a technologist. I work for Kala. Kala is a digital innovation and transformation lab. We help organizations solve their most pressing problems. We are all about results and data and growth. We help organizations through digital transformation, through innovation, just change their thinking around the culture around innovation. But we also build and launch our own digital and data platforms. So if you think of us as a two-in-one, that's a good picture to have, where we have consulting on one side and venture building on the other hand. So I'll just start by just posing this statement that I think Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, has made popular. He says that every company is a software company. I don't know whether people in the legal profession or those who support legal companies or the legal professionals think of themselves as, in a sense, software companies. But the thing is, in a sense, technologically driven in our today's world. The medium you're communicating right now is it's tech heavy. We send messages. We communicate for business using technology. So in a sense, everyone has to start thinking like and operating like a digital company. And of course, COVID-19 has played a huge role in forcing us to think digital, to think innovation, to think how an organization could leverage digital technology. So I'm sure everyone has seen this meme, if you like, of who's a digital transformation leader of your company, and many people are saying it's COVID-19. But I think terminology matters, most so especially for lawyers. I guess it's good to be clear and succinct what we mean by digital transformation. So there's these three terms that people use sometimes interchangeably, but they don't necessarily mean the same thing. And from how we understand digital transformation at Kala is you have to think about first digitization. It's essentially turning an analog process into digital. So if I was to relate it to say how you create contracts, for example, or how you manage your client's database, for example. If you are doing it on a piece of paper or with files, essentially just maybe just taking the same process and using technology, probably start using a soft version of that. It is a very, if you like, loose example is instead of physically meeting, we are now virtually meeting. So that's why you got to think about digitization. It's really the background of the word is everything in the digital world is ones and zeros. So in a sense, it's just digitized. And then there's digitalization, where you're talking about changing of business models to deliver an experience to the digitally savvy customer. So if you think of the next 10 years or the next 20 years on this continent of Africa, where the population is primarily under the age of 20, your customers or your clients who are coming to you for legal services, if you're a law company, are going to be digitally savvy by default. Everyone is on WhatsApp, everyone is on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but there is that familiarity with technology. And over the next few years and decades, everything will require one to deliver your services in an experience that somebody who is digitally savvy can appreciate. And then there's the whole idea of digital transformation, but it's not about technology. And this is something that many focus on the technology, but forget that really it's about the people that use the technology. So you're designing your organization around your customer, around delivering enjoyable customer experience, but I'm just wondering what an enjoyable customer experience looks like for a law firm. But it's just thinking about also the people within your organization, within your law firm. How does technology serve them? How does technology enhance their productivity, make their work enjoyable? How does it enable them? So I think nomenclature matters when you're talking about these three things. I asked a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine, what they thought of digitization in the legal profession, digital transformation in the legal profession. And this is one of the statements she had to say. COVID has forced us to learn Zoom, which is interesting. So if you think about digital transformation, I mentioned it should be very customer-centric. So as a law firm, and I have quite a number of friends who are lawyers and who run law firms, you think around how do you make it customer-centric? How do you make your law firm customer-centric? And even the thinking around the relationship that you have with your customers or your clients. I think that's a preferred language. Is do we think of it as being about experiences? How do they feel when they've been served by you as a company or as a law firm rather? What are those touch points? By touch points we mean, or interactions we mean, it could be that first interaction when they meet you in your office, or when they send an email, or when they go to your social media page. Also, I should mention that another of the sentiments I got from one of my law firm friends is that digital is as much as having a website or having a social media presence, which is in a sense is okay, but when you think about digital transformation, there's so much more. There's those interactions, social media, physical, walk-in visitors. What do they mean? How does your client feel, and what are the technology or the data systems and platforms in place? What are the processes in place that enhance that experience, that enhance the delivery of services? What is the culture that your team has or your law firm has when it comes to delivering or having that customer centricity? So really digital transformation is really about providing the technology and data. It's not a means, it's a means to an end. It's not the end, I think. And I'm speaking as a technologist, we think of sometimes people fall into the trap of thinking tech and data as be the end all and the be all. It's really a means to an end. When you're talking about the end being providing exemplary service to your customers, enjoyable service to their customers, and enabling your team to provide those services. I think if you was to think of it in a very simple form, that's what I'll think about digital transformation. The leadership of your organization has to be driving that process in a sense. Employees need to be empowered to use technology. There's a whole culture and mindset shift that probably needs to happen in many instances. And then just to think around, just drilling down on how well you know your clients. So I know every law firm, for every client you have a case file, and I guess we could talk about that a bit more, but beyond the particulars of the case or the matter that's been addressed, how well do you actually know the person or the company that you're providing services to? What are their needs? What's their background? What defines them? Because you could find that, yes, they've come to you with a specific matter, but there might be other things that they're thinking about. For example, it could be a freelancer or somebody who is, say, approaching 40 years old, and they have kids, and on this continent, we don't think about, say, wills, for example, and inheritance, and we know that quite often that's a problem down the road when there's a death in the family, for example. There could be opportunities to quote unquote upsell say, estate management, for example, but you need to understand your user or your client, or to use less technical words, how well do you understand your customer, your client? And to be able to do that, you have to be able to have information and data about them. That data has to reside somewhere. It has to be in a way that's easily consumed, analyzed, if you like, or accessed. And that's where the technology comes in. You have to be able to leverage that technology to be able to provide that service. So this is just sort of one of the examples that I had. Again, I am not a lawyer. I just have many friends who are lawyers, and I find that there's some very easy steps and very easy opportunities and low-hanging fruit that could be taken. Another example, I think, might be what I alluded to earlier around document management. Contracts, more by and large, have some sort of standardized bits and pieces. You could use technology and workflows to enhance that, save you time, save the risk of errors, and have an easy archiving and record keeping platform that takes care of such things. They said technology is a means to an end, not an end itself. That's super important when it comes to digital transformation. It's really about you being able to serve your clients best and enable and empower your team. But then again, there is obviously opportunities that you can use technology. Think around document automation, which I mentioned, document review, redaction, form capture. It's really about improving your productivity of the team, reducing the risk of mistakes. I find, speaking for myself, if there's something that you're doing repetitively, you most likely can automate it. And if there's a way you can automate it, you can save time, you can make yourself a bit more productive. And that applies as an individual and as an organization. I think I've heard of hearings happening on Zoom, so to speak. What I've noticed, based on what I've understood, is the filing on the hearings of those cases have essentially taken the physical process. Sorry? I've taken the physical process and just added a layer of technology to it, and perhaps maybe there's more that could be done. The other option is that area around the culture change that technology brings is around remote work. I think a lot of law firms right now are working remotely and managing to be productive at the same time. I think key consideration there is security and data privacy. When you're dealing with confidential information, how do you ensure that you don't accidentally share confidential information? There's a fancy use of AI for due diligence. Perhaps there's a way you could leverage AI techniques to speed up the due diligence process. Collaboration, I think everyone is now using Zoom or a variant of, or one of the many video conferencing teams, Google Meet, and many others. But you could also record, like this meeting has been recorded, you can record that, you can actually transcribe those meetings. So when it comes to having an accurate record of something that has happened, that entire process saves so much time and improves productivity. There's collaboration software where they're using talking about, instead of having documents being created and communication happening on email, everyone that needs to work on that piece of documents can use something like Google Docs or Office 365 and just work on the same document instead of emailing back and forth. That actually saves quite a bit of time. There's delivering training online. I think if you have children and they're going to school online, it's the same paradigm where you, instead of going to a physical class, you could create an immersive experience virtually and deliver training, especially for probably your legal interns. Then when you think about casework and consolidation and data, this I think is one of those areas where, particularly with legal case management, I think there's quite a number of companies that are taking up a software that allows you to essentially do what other industries call CRM, customer relation management, document management, where all that, some of your key processes are taken care by the software. And there's quite a lot of cloud-based and there's a lot of cloud-based software that exists that allows you to do that, both developed on the continent and available globally. And then there's e-discovery software. You're talking about processing, reviewing, and generating electronic documents. The whole idea is saving time and costs. And I don't know how the progress has been with that on the continent. But again, there's that sense of using digital means to exchange information. So McKinsey had this study they did some years back where they say, just talking about the gains for that data-driven organizations have, they're talking about 23 times more likely to acquire new customers, 6 times as likely to retain customers, and of course, multiple times, 19 times at that time, to be profitable as a result. Of course, you have to have the right strategy in place. There has to be the right leadership, the right culture, and leveraging data and technology to achieve this. But obviously, there are challenges, the obstacles, and some of the key ones are really about not the technology per se. It's about people, and this is some of my thoughts. Do legal professionals or legal companies that support legal professionals have the digital skills to implement digital transformation strategy? Do they have the right leadership to drive that? Because there has to be that willingness to push it from the front, from the top rather. And then does the culture, is the culture comfortable, so to speak, the culture of the profession comfortable with the status quo, or the company comfortable with the status quo, and is it willing to make that paradigm shift towards changing a lot of things, changing culture to thrive in a digitally enabled world? But perhaps those are some of the things we can discuss over the next 15 or so minutes in the time that is left. Thanks for listening. I think we can now have a discussion.